Hi there, it's Tara, she of all things transformational, transformational guidance coaching, transformational body work, and for our purposes here today, transformational yoga. So welcome. And today's video is just a little practice responding to a student of mine who is unable to attend class right now because she can't bend over due to having a minor surgery. So a lot of times, even though her surgery was contained to her face, uh, a lot of times with surgery, it's ill-advised to lift heavy things or bend over because it could impede the healing progress, right? So I reminded her that there's a lot of things that can be done in yoga that don't involve any bending over. And first of all, let's just review what yoga is. Yoga is a broad spectrum practice that essentially means union. And that could be union of your mind and your mind, body, and spirit, union of activity and non-activity, union of your breath and action, union of union of your daily life with your spiritual life. This is a very broad word. And the practice of yoga, there is what is known as the 8 limbs of yoga. And in the 8 limbs of yoga, they talk about all the different components of yoga. And actually, there's a component called the yamas, which is how we conduct our daily life, the niyamas, which is how we take care of ourselves. Then it goes into asana. Those are the poses. That's what most people think of when they think of yoga, right? And then pranayama, and then learning how to quiet the mind and go into meditation. So encompassing in the practice of yoga are practices of breath work, meditation, and poses. So first of all, as my yoga teacher says, if there is breath in your body, you can practice yoga. Second of all, when it comes to practicing the asana poses, there's so many ways that we can still access a lot of different asanas or even asana inspired movement that can help us to stay fluid in the joints, to kind of keep ourselves moving the spine around a little bit and don't have to involve bending over. So you can always adapt your practice to whatever is going on with you at any given time. Adaptive yoga is a really, really powerful component of a smart, intelligent yoga practice. So today we're just going to do a few things that are going to be applicable to someone who would not be able to bend over. So what you're mostly going to need today are a wall, a brick, or actually, if I was doing this in my, life, if this was me, I would be using a stair, but I'm going to show it with a brick, yoga block, and a strap. And remember, your strap could be a bathrobe belt or a dog leash or, something very long, okay? And so we're going to start today in Tadasana. And so in Tadasana, I just want you to bring your weight to your heels with your feet lined up, ankles under knees, knees under the front bone of your hips. So this bone that you can feel pointing forward, you're going to drop that down and that should line up over your ankles. And then toes are going to come up so the weight goes to your heels. You're going to bring your palms open so the back of your arms come alive and the front of the shoulders open up. And then we're going to let the chin just nestle down a little bit. Back of the head's going to slide up and you can lightly lower your toes. This is Tadasana, mountain pose. So almost anyone who can stand can do this pose. And by the way, you can do this pose sitting down, sitting on the front edge of a chair seat, on the front edge of your sit bones. So we'll take a few breaths and center ourselves to practice today. Deep breath in Out. Good. You can repeat. Exhale. And one more. In. And exhale. Good. And then we're going to bring our right hand to the wall. You're going to have the fingertips pointing back. You can have your right wrist about shoulder level or a little lower. And open up the left hand. And we're just going to start to somewhat turn the body away from the wall so that you're starting to feel a stretch through the palm, the inner arm, and the front of the shoulder a little bit. While you're doing this, you're going to tone the triceps, the muscles in the back of the arm, and a little bit the muscles on the inside of your right shoulder blade. And notice how I have my left arm open and turning away. So this is kind of helping me steer the pose. I'm going to take a deep breath in. Exhale, open up this arm and shoulder a little bit. You can use your feet in the floor to help you steer the body away. This pose is also excellent for anyone who does a lot of work with their hands, a lot of keying. Almost everybody can benefit by doing this, and you don't need a yoga mat or any special clothes, just a wall or a tree or a door frame. And then release, and we'll switch sides. So you're going to have your left hand, fingertips pointed back. You might turn your feet slightly away from the wall. Right arm is going to open up. Remember, you're going to tone the triceps in the back of your arm. And we're going to use our feet in the floor and the right arm to kind of steer the body away. You'll feel a little bit of tone in between the shoulder blades will help this process. Deep breath in. Exhale. And release. And come on out. And you're just going to grab your strap, please. And we're going to bring the strap overhead with really wide arms. And the trick here is that you want your hands to be far enough apart that when we lower our arms behind us, you'll get to keep your elbows extended or fully straightened, okay? But first, let's go side to side a little. So I'm going to tip right. And when I tip right, the left side of my body gets really long. Good. And press out through that left hip a little if you want. And then come on up and tip left, lengthening the right side of your body. You can press out through the right hip a little bit. Good. And then come on up. And again, we're going to do our best to keep the elbows fully extended. And you're going to bring those arms down behind you. Good. And then we'll inhale. Arms up. Good. And release. And then we can bring our hands behind us. And you can clasp the strap between the hands with a few inches of strap, or as much as you require, so that you can fully extend the elbows again, meaning no bend in the elbows. And from here, we're just going to move the hands away from the hips. I'm going to bring the weight a little bit to my heels, lift my chest bone. Good. Opening up across the shoulders. My first yoga teacher used to say, imagine you have one of those thick rubber bands that comes around a bunch of broccoli, stretching across your chest. So I just always think of that when I do this. And then lightly let go. Don't let your arms spring out. And you can give yourself a little shake. And then we're going to take the strap into the right hand, and you're going to reach overhead. And we're going to do what's called cow-faced pose arms, Gomukhasana arms. So reach up. While you're reaching up with your right arm, you're going to turn your left arm into internal rotation. And I just want to say that if you're a lefty, please do this with the left hand reaching up first and the right hand reaching behind. But otherwise, for righties, you're going to go right arm up first, left arm into internal rotation. And then we'll bring that left hand up as high as we can behind our back, between the shoulder blades, and drop the right hand to meet it. Now, if you make the clasp with your fingers, great, then you don't need the strap. But if you didn't quite make the clasp, then you have the strap and you can hold the strap. And you can hold the strap as far down as your back as you require. We're going to do our best to lift the elbow, the right elbow or whatever your top arm is, up and face the tricep forward. And then I'm just going to bring my weight to my heels again so I find that vertical axis. Good. And we're just giving these shoulders a nice little opening here through the armpit. Side ribs. Good. And then gently release. You can just allow the strap to drop into your bottom hand. Come down, give the arms a quick little rest for a breath. And then we're going to reach up with your other hand. In my case, it's my left hand, my non-dominant. And I'm going to bring the right arm into internal rotation, bring it back behind me. And most people are going to find that whatever their dominant hand is, that arm is going to have less range of motion and probably won't typically get up as high on the back as the other side did. So don't be alarmed or surprised if that's the case. But we're going to give a great reach through the left arm and then exhale and bring the left hand down behind. If you can't quite make the reach, you have the strap. And we're going to draw the left elbow up or whatever your top arm is. Good. And point the tricep forward. You can bring the weight a little bit to your heels. Good. So you're on that vertical axis. And then release and slide the arms out of the pose. We're just going to let this strap go for now. And you can give your arms just a little bit of a little shake out. You can move the head about a little if you want. And we're going to bring some attention to the legs now. So if you have your block, or you could be using a step stool, or you could be on a stair, like I said. And if you're using stairs, you're going to be facing the staircase. And it's nice if you have something to touch, on one side, like a wall or a railing or something like that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring the kind of like the front half of the foot, the ball of the foot to the brick. And because what happens with bricks is that they kind of tend to flip up a little bit when I drop my heel, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to step forward and I'm going to bring my right heel to the brick just to weigh it down. And I have my hands on the wall here for balance. And then I'm going to drop my left heel, rather pressing it down. And so it's nice to have the wall to sort of project off of. And in that way, you're not worrying about balance. And if you're holding on, if you have walls to your side, that's perfectly fine. You're not worrying about balance and you can really drop your heel. This reminds me of a foot in a saddle. I used to ride horses and the stirrup would be just below the ball of the foot and you would drop the heel as far down as you could. So there should be some toning in the front of the thighs. And then release and we'll switch. So you'll bring the right foot back. Just shimmy your left heel forward. Remember, if you're on an actual stair, then you have your left foot behind you. Okay, so heel goes down. You're going to project off of the wall a little bit. You're just pegging the block down with the left foot. That's all the left foot is doing, is holding the block in place. Deep breath, lift up through the chest, exhale, let the right heel sink down. So we're getting into the calf muscles, the gastroc, or those ball muscles, the top of the calf, and then there's a muscle called the soleus, and that's kind of fish-shaped, and that's deeper underneath the gastrocnemius. Good. And then we'll release. And we're going to just push the block out of the way. And if you're at stairs doing that, you can just find yourself against a chunk of wall now, okay? And so let's bring the left foot forward and the right foot back. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I've done this many times. I love to do a lunge against the wall because the wall gives me this wonderful surface to project against. So I get excellent verticality through the top of the head, the shirsha of the head. I'm going to draw the right heel back, and the left knee is going to be basically lined up over the left ankle. And so from here, you're going to use your fingertips to push against the wall. And then if the balance is good, you can bring your right arm up. And if the balance is really good, you can bring your left arm up. And we're in a variation of Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Opening up the front of the right thigh and the entire front of the body while toning the back of the body, the extensors. Deep breath. And coming out, step together and switch. Nice generous step. Right knee over right ankle, left leg back, and notice I have the left knee lifted. And I'm really shooting energy out of that left heel. I'm going to project away from the wall. So I use the wall for some resistance. And then left arm can come up, and if the balance is good, so can the right. If you need the hands on the wall for balance, by all means, keep them both there or one. Deep breath. Calm the face, but keep some energy through the legs. And release, step to the wall. And then from here, we're going to take the left foot forward again and the right foot back. And this time, not quite as big of a step. And we're going to keep both feet, toes pointed towards the wall. And this time, the right heel is going to stay down. And we're going to take a little bit of a tip. But I think when it comes to not folding, what's meant is to not bring the head below the heart. So this pose will not bring the head below the heart. It'll keep the torso lengthened and keep the head in line with the spine. So it should be on the safe side. So before we fold, what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure that the hips stay pretty much square to the wall or facing the wall. Sometimes in this pose, the right hip wants to turn away, but we're going to see if we can keep that right hip square to the wall. I'm going to bring the hands up the wall a little bit and start to crawl the hands up the wall as you move your hips back. And this is causing a fold. You can widen the hands if you need to for your shoulders comfort. And I'm starting to feel the stretch in the back of the left leg, the hamstrings. Just want to make sure that I don't let my left big toe roll up and I don't let my right hip drift back. So press that left big toe firmly into the floor. Keep it well rooted. Move those hips back. And you're just keeping the face, really the face isn't tipping down. The torso you haven't bent the spine. You're not putting any pressure at all in the face. Keeping it nice and easy here. And then coming up, we'll switch legs. Right leg forward, left leg back, keeping the toes pointed in the same direction on both legs. And we're going to just make sure the hips point forward. So you're not opening up the left hip like it'll try to do. You're going to keep the left hip slightly drawing forward, and you're going to really peg down that right big toe. That's important, okay? Take a deep breath, exhale, start to draw the hips back as you tip the chest towards the wall, climbing the arms up. Just a mild fold rolling the hips over the thigh bones. So the spine stays long. There's no rounding in your spine, okay? Don't round the spine, don't drop the head, keep the head lifted. You don't have to lift the chin, but make sure you're not dropping the head forward or down. Good. Hips go back, especially the right hip. You're going to peg that right big toe down. Good. And then come on up. And let's step together and come to Tadasana for a second and just feel what's already happened. You haven't even done that much and you've done a lot. So nice deep breath. Let's get a rotation in. Okay, so I'm going to we're going to use the wall to do revolve triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my right foot forward and a few inches, maybe let's say like 3 or 4 inches away from the wall. And you'll want to watch this maybe before you do it. And then your left foot is just going to be back more or less in the same position it was just a moment ago. And you're going to allow your left heel to leave the floor. So we're going to take a nice deep breath and you're going to turn towards the wall, allowing your left heel to leave the floor. And you're going to just press with that right hand so that the right shoulder can draw back and you're turning in a clockwise, you're turning to the right in a clockwise position. You're going to peg that right big toe down and then you can slightly, I don't have a wall here. I should move back a little more. You can slightly start to reach the left hand forward on the wall if you want and just slide a little bit into a minor fold. But look, head stays up, face stays up. So we're not dropping the head below the heart or doing anything risky with the spine. Keeping that right big toe pegged down, turning the trunk to the right by starting the rotation through the hips. Deep breath, exhale, release, and come out. And of course, we have to do the second side. So this time, I'm going to have I have my left foot forward about 3 or 4 inches away from the wall, right foot back. You're going to let that right heel leave the floor. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Turn to the left. Let the hips turn first. And that's why I have my back right heel allowed to leave the floor so I can let the hips turn, because feet steer your hips. Hips steer your spine. And then the last thing to turn is the upper back. And then if you want to slide forward a little bit with the right arm, you can. It's a choice. Deep breath. Modified Parivrtta Trikonasana. Revolve triangle. Good. And then come back. We're going to step together and pause in your Tadasana. So weight to the heels, feet parallel underneath the hips. Nice deep breath. Exhale. And relax. One more deep breath. Exhale. And relax. Okay, how about we get one good balance pose in, and we're going to choose dancer's pose because it's really great to help open up the front of the hips. So again, if you need to have a little steadying, have your right hand next to a wall or a chair or whatever you require. We're going to find our balance on the right foot, and you're going to reach up for the left ankle, pivoting that left foot behind you. So when you bring the left foot behind you, what we're going to do is contract the left gluteal muscles and the muscles to the inside of the left shoulder blade so that we start to really open up the front of the left side of the body from the left knee all the way up to the left shoulder. And remember, if you need the wall, you have it beside you, or a chair, or whatever you're using. Very important to stay steady, especially if you're recovering from something. But also important to stay, in with some tone in your body. You don't want to lose your body's residual tone. So balance poses are excellent for that. And then release, come out, and we'll switch sides. So when you're balancing, another piece that's really important is that you want to have what's called a drishti. That means a gaze point. So something that you're looking at that doesn't move. So find something across the room for you, a spot to look at that's not going to move. You're going to take a nice deep breath, reach up for the right ankle. Make sure the left foot has good rooting, and you could have your left body next to a wall right now or a chair. And then pivoting the right leg back. So it's sort of like you're pulling a bowstring back. And then we're opening up. Whoop. Opening up from the front of the right knee to the front of the right shoulder. Good. And then release. Come back. And Tadasana. Nice deep breath. Exhale. Weight to the heels. You can lift the toes if you want to find that vertical axis. Let's take a couple breaths. And you can bring the hands to prayer. Breathe in. Slow exhale. And I'm going to leave you here. It's always advisable to do a short relaxation after you have practiced. So feel free to lay down with something under your head and take a couple minutes to rest now. Before you do that, I just want to remind you and ask you to please give this video a thumbs up, like, or a comment, or share it. And if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, would you kindly do that? And I want to thank you so much for coming to practice with me today. I hope that you got something out of this. And if anything, I hope that it triggered you to think about the versatility of yoga practice. It is always there for us. All we have to do is show up and ask, how can I tap in? It's not, can I tap in? It's, how can I tap in? Thank you so much for being here today. Namaste.